Hello everyone, and welcome to today's story. It was a gentle afternoon, the sunlight soft and warm. Diep's laughter echoed through the flower garden, light and pure, like the breeze brushing against the leaves. James lifted his camera, and the frame froze on that perfect moment, her beautiful smile. But after that day, something unexpected happened to Diep. Will she be lucky once again? Stay with us until the very end to find out. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support will help us reach 1,000 followers and bring you even more heartfelt stories to come. The village road that day was bathed in honeyed sunlight. Golden rays filtered through the trees, tracing warm streaks across James's white shirt and Diep's soft hair. The old motorbike hummed gently with the wind, while the girls' laughter, light and clear, mingled with the distant hum of cicadas, creating that tender melody only the highlands in summer could hold. James slowed the bike near a narrow path where bougainvillea bloomed in vibrant pinks. He smiled, stepped off, and said softly, "Let me pick a few flowers for you." His voice was gentle, as if afraid to break the fragile stillness surrounding them. Diep nodded, her eyes sparkling beneath the sunlight. James raised his camera and gestured for her to stand in the light. "Smile. 1, 2, 3. The shutter clicked, capturing her holding the flowers, her shy smile, her eyes curved like they were trying to hold the whole afternoon inside. He glanced down at the photo and smiled. "That's the smile I like best on you, Diep." They both laughed. Their laughter melted into the breeze, into the scent of flowers and sunlight. From afar came the playful barking of a puppy and the call of chickens returning to the yard. Everything felt so peaceful, so still. Diep whispered, her voice as soft as the wind. "I wish every day could be this peaceful." James looked at her, eyes full of warmth. "If I could, I'd keep you in this moment, forever." But peace is always as fragile as morning mist. Right now they are serene and smiling, unaware that somewhere far away, a storm has already begun to form. At the sawmill, the sound of machines had long gone silent. Only the wind remained, whistling through thin wooden boards, making them tremble ever so slightly. James stood in the middle of the workshop, his sleeves rolled up, flipping through a thick ledger. Each red number on the page felt like a knife to his chest. The mill was losing money, falling behind schedule, and the price of timber had doubled overnight. He looked around. Stacks of lumber waiting to be shipped, fewer workers than before, a few machines already gathering dust. Where once echoed the rhythm of saws and laughter, now there lingered only damp air and the harsh smell of old engine oil. Since the sudden spike in timber prices, everything had collapsed. Orders canceled, clients hesitant, yet wages still had to be paid every month. James closed his eyes, suppressing a heavy sigh. Sunlight filtered through the rusted tin roof, casting uneven patches of light across his tired face, a face worn by exhaustion, yet still fighting to stay calm. In his mind, only one thought remained. I have to keep this place alive. Even if it means losing money, I can't let dozens of people lose their jobs. He set the pen down and stared out the doorway. Gray clouds were rolling in, darkening the sky with a heavy shade of foreboding. A chill crept into his chest, the unmistakable feeling that something worse was on its way. The sound of an engine rumbled in the distance. A black car crawled slowly down the muddy road, its tires cutting through long streaks of wet dirt, leaving behind pale trails of water on the red clay. James looked up. He recognized it immediately. Detective Lee's car. A familiar face and the one who'd been helping him investigate the recent case surrounding his company. Lee stepped out, set a thick folder on the table, his expression so grave that even the air around them seemed to still. Sunlight filtered through the rusted tin roof, casting uneven light across the heavy stack of papers. Pages filled with dense writing and stamped with crimson seals. On the top sheet, one name stood out in bold black ink. John. The letters were sharp and heavy, as if carved into the paper itself. James stared at the folder, a flicker of unease in his eyes. If Lee had come in person, then this was far beyond an issue of rising lumber prices. Lee didn't speak right away. He sat down, opened the file, and flipped through it slowly. Each page landing on the table sounded like a countdown. Every sheet a piece of the truth, revealing the danger closing in on James. A photograph slid out and landed between them. Massive timber logs split open, revealing small black-wrapped packages hidden inside. Lee met James's gaze, his voice low and firm. "We found John's shipment, and it wasn't just lumber." The air in the workshop froze. The old ceiling fan groaned and turned sluggishly, its blades creaking in the heavy silence. Lee continued. The first evidence showed that John had been using lumber exports as a front for a cross-border drug network. Dirty money was being laundered through hundreds of fake timber contracts, making everything look perfectly legal on paper. Small businesses like James's mill were being pulled into the game without ever realizing it. In James's mind, the pieces began to fall into place. The sudden surge in lumber prices, the bankrupt mills, the rush orders John had always pushed for. It all fit now. Every move had been part of a masterfully calculated plan. James rose to his feet and walked toward the doorway. Outside, the stacks of wood towered high, forming walls that blocked out the light. And in that shadow, he finally understood. He wasn't just fighting to save his sawmill anymore. He was up against a man who would do anything, even turn human lives into currency in his game for power. Lee closed the folder, placed a hand on James's shoulder, and said quietly, "You're not alone in this, but you need to be ready. John is far more dangerous than you think." James nodded, his eyes dark and resolute. Outside, the wind rustled through the banana grove, carrying the damp scent of freshly cut wood. And in that moment, he knew. What lay ahead was no longer business or rivalry. It was darkness itself. And John was the one dragging everything into the abyss. Deep within the lush green forest, the murmur of a stream blended softly with the whisper of wind through the leaves. Diep carried a woven bamboo basket on her back, her bare feet stepping lightly over the damp stones. Sunlight shimmered on the water's surface, casting a golden glow that warmed her cheeks. She bent down, carefully picking each medicinal leaf, placing it gently into the basket behind her. Every movement was simple, unhurried, yet her eyes still held that familiar resilience, the quiet strength of a woman who had endured far too many storms. No one knew that while Diep moved peacefully amid the calm of nature, somewhere else, an unseen hand was already setting the next move into motion. At the spacious house set on the mountainside, the air was still. Only the low chorus of insects rustled beyond the rows of trees. Inside, John sat at the head of the table, his face cold, his eyes deep and dark, as if hiding a storm. Dim light slipped through the window, outlining the hard edges of his gaze. Two henchmen sat opposite him, rigid and silent, not daring to speak. John was quiet for a moment, then pushed a map across the table, his finger tapping a small spot near the edge of the forest. "She goes this way often." "That stretch is empty, few people around. Today there's only one chance." John's voice was even, low and steady, carrying absolute resolve. Each word was measured, precise. No wasted motion, no stray meaning. A cold flash lit his eyes, the look of someone ready to destroy anyone who stood in his way. One of the men hesitated to ask a question. John lifted his head and let a smile slip across his lips, thin and blade-like. "Kidnap her. And remember, I don't need an excuse. I need results." Outside, through the slightly ajar door, Trang stood frozen. She gripped a notebook tight, breath coming short, her eyes fixed on the room where her brother spoke words that made her skin crawl. "Kidnap Diep?" The name stopped her heart. John kept speaking, his tone steady as if pronouncing a verdict already sealed. "Make it quick, this afternoon. Everything must be finished before nightfall." Trang pressed herself against the wall, her mind racing. She knew that if she kept silent, Diep would be in danger. But if she stepped forward, John, the brother she once trusted, would never forgive her. Inside, a chair scraped. The meeting was over. John rose, adjusted his collar, and walked out with the same cool, composed air as if nothing had happened. Trang leaned her back against the wall, heart pounding. "I have to save Diep, no matter what." Trang raced out of the house, the wind slapping her face as her hastily tied hair whipped behind her. Her motorbike roared, careening through the narrow, twisting turns. She knew the route the two henchmen had taken, and there was only one shortcut that could intercept them. Her heart hammered, each beat urging, "You must get there, before it's too late." Elsewhere, Diep walked briskly along the path toward home. The basket of herbs on her back swung gently with each step. Summer cicadas droned in the trees, and the stream murmured nearby, an otherwise peaceful soundtrack. Yet unease gnawed at her. She glanced over her shoulder. A few dozen meters back, two men in black stood by the roadside, caps pulled low, faces masked. One pretended to check his phone, but his cold eyes kept sliding sideways toward her. Diep felt her heart leap. Her hand tightened instinctively on the basket strap at her back. She swallowed, forced herself calm, and quickened her pace. A gust of wind rushed through the forest, whipping dry leaves into little whirlwinds around her feet. Footsteps behind her grew faster, heavier, as if the distance between them were shrinking with every beat. Diep knew, if she didn't get off this path, and fast, she would be in danger. Diep hurried her steps, her heart pounding wildly in her chest. Each crack of dry leaves beneath her feet sounded like the echo of her own growing fear. Behind her, the two men in black had started to move. One got on the motorbike, the other scanned the surroundings. They weren't rushing, yet the coldness in their eyes made every step Diep took feel heavier. She tried to steady herself, but her hands had begun to tremble. Just one more turn and she'd be out of this stretch of forest, where the main road led back to the village. But as she prepared to move faster, the sudden growl of an engine broke the silence. Harsh, grating. The two men were on their bike. They sped off, tires scraping the dirt, throwing up clouds of dust. Diep spun around to run, when from the opposite direction another honk pierced the air. Urgent, sharp. It was Trang. Her car came from the other side, screeching to a halt right in front of Diep. Without even turning off the engine, Trang called out, her voice trembling with haste. "Diep! Where were you? Get in, I'll take you home." Diep looked up, eyes still wide with confusion, sweat beading across her forehead. The moment she saw Trang, a breath of relief escaped her, as if waking from a nightmare. I was picking herbs on the hill. Thank goodness I ran into you." She climbed in quickly. The engine hummed again, soft but firm, carrying the two women away from the lonely road. The wind whipped through Diep's hair, sweeping away the fear that had just gripped her heart. Yet she couldn't calm down. She turned to glance back, and there, between the trees, two shadowy figures still stood, motionless as statues. Her heartbeat quickened. She clutched Trang's shoulder and whispered, "I think someone's following me." Trang's eyes tightened for a moment, but her voice remained calm. "Don't be afraid. Just hold on tight. Everything's going to be okay." Trang pressed harder on the gas, speeding away, leaving behind the two men in black, silent and tense, their faces stiff with frustration. The forest wind rustled through the leaves, sounding almost like a cruel, distant laugh of fate, a reminder that this chase was far from over.
chia sẻ, đăng ký kênh để không bỏ lỡ